Welcome to Badminton Weekly with me, Jasmine Lim. It was a near-perfect day for Denmark at the Yonex Canada Open. The Danes were in 3 finals and came away with 2 titles at the Super 500 event. Olympic-bound Kim Astrup and Anders Rasmussen successfully defended their men's doubles title, while it was a disappointing day for mixed doubles pair Matthias Christensen and Alexander Boye, who fell just short at the final hurdle. Now, despite the good results, the Danes are getting good grades for their final Olympic preparations from Hans Christian Vittinghus.
I think for Astrup and Rasmussen, it's been pretty much perfect for the last few months. I know they haven't won all the tournaments, but if you look at the level they have and the level they've shown over the past year, I think the past 2 months has completely lived up to the expectations. And obviously, with how things went at Canada Open this past week, I think it's hard to say how they could have improved or how they could have prepared much better for the Olympics, basically. So I think I would actually give them an A+. I think they go to Paris in the best possible condition and with the best possible self-confidence as well. They've shown that they are a pair that's very, very difficult to beat, and I think they will show that again in Paris as well. I think for Christiansen and Boye, it's been a period of a lot of up and down. They've won some matches, they've also lost some matches where you would maybe expect a little bit more from them. But what I think is very, very positive, if we just look at the final week in Canada Open, is that I saw a Matthias Christiansen who was moving much more freely than I've seen for quite some time. He looked like he got rid of his knee and ankle injuries, which has been bugging him a little bit over the past few months. In Canada, they look like a pair that's really, really on the right track. But then again, you saw one more time that when they lose the plot sometimes in their matches, like they did in the final, they were 14-6 up in the second game after winning the first and ended up losing. When they lose the plot, they really lose it, and then they can lose to every pair in the world. So I'll say it's still a little bit up and down, but it's very positive to see that Matthias, at least, he's moving at the highest possible pace and he's playing more freely. So they will go into the Olympics with this underdog role where you believe they can beat a lot of the good pairs in the world, but you also have to be wary that they can basically also lose to most of the pairs. You never really know if they're gonna keep the momentum and stay on track or lose it a little bit. So if I had to grade them, I think I would probably give them a B-. I think they're looking better and better, but you could also maybe hope for a little bit more consistency from their side. For sure, I don't think Anders was expecting to lose that early in Canada Open, and I know Rajawat is a player who's upcoming, but it will be a little bit of a blow to Anders to lose a match like that. He came into Canada with great confidence after making the final of Indonesia Open, which also came right at the back of 3 quite disappointing tournaments actually. So he's been a little bit more inconsistent in the last couple of months compared to what we saw in the first part of the year, and of course that's a little bit of a cause to concern, but he only has to think back to the Indonesia Open 2 months ago, and he made the final there, so he will still go into the Olympics believing that if he's on his A game, he can win the whole thing, he can win a medal, no doubt about it, but he also needs to realize he can lose to basically anyone in the draw if he's not at his A game. That's how big the depth is in the men's singles. So I think in some ways maybe Canada Open was a good wake-up call for him to know that he cannot underestimate any opponent or any situation at the Olympics. He needs to be at his very best to have a chance of fulfilling the goal I'm sure he has of winning a medal. So if I had to grade Anders, unfortunately I would have to probably give him a C or a B-, something like that, because it puts him up a little bit. It's the final at Indonesia Open not so long ago, but it also takes him down quite a notch that he didn't perform well in Canada Open.
Meanwhile, it was a day to remember for Busanan Ongbamrungfan. The Thai shuttler collected her first tour title in over 2 years after navigating through a tough draw at the Canada Open. Kirsty Gilmer, though, was not surprised by Busanan's success in Calgary.
Was I surprised to see Busanan make it this far? No, not really. I think she always has a pretty high standard. I think she's quite a skillful player. And so I think some halls will suit her more than others. I think the skillful players didn't really fare hugely well in the US Open hall. But for her to make it to the final in Canada, no, I'm not surprised. She's a quality player. Okay, she maybe hasn't reached finals in the last couple of years, but she's always kind of in the mix, and she's always, you know, going quite close with the top players. I think the final of a 500 event is correct for Busanan. Busanan is a very tough opponent to play against. I think in terms of Busanan's like specific playing style, like I say, I think it's a very skillful style. She doesn't heavily rely on her physical aspects, maybe as much as some other players, myself included, would. So I think key elements of Busanan's game is her resilience from her rear court. She just stays quite calm and really gets herself out of trouble in those back corners when she's pressurized. And then the defining factor of Busanan's game is her skill from below tape. It's up there with with your Tai Tzu Ying, with your Ratchnok. And that kind of style of not necessarily being like the fastest on approach, but even if that shuttle drops below tape, she can produce some unbelievable quality, especially, and I've even seen some highlight clips of this, and I've been caught by this shot myself, that backhand cross net. It comes from nowhere. It's honestly, it's incredible to, well, it's painful to play against, but it's incredible to watch. It's just that perfect timing of the meeting of the shuttle and that little nudge cross court, and she just does it so fluently, and you can't see it coming, honestly. So I think her below tape skills are like the defining feature of Busanan's game, and it's very difficult. It's not an area of the court that you can avoid as an opponent, so you kind of have to play into her hands and just be as ready as you possibly can to scramble what she's got to give you. So yeah, I'd say definitely below tape skills is a strong area for Busanan. Despite Busanan not being qualified for the Olympic Games, which so many of the other players will be using this as their last preparation tournament, maybe that's, you know, fallen in her favour, that she's not got like eyes on Olympics. It's not her final preparation tournament. Maybe there's a kind of freedom to that for her. But in terms of what this performance gives her for the rest of her year, maybe the little bit of a momentum that she needed. I think Busanan has been struggling with a few injuries. She hasn't managed to put a lot of performances in tournaments back to back to back, and it's so difficult in badminton with such a packed schedule. So I think this will give her, you know, that little spark, and we haven't seen a final from her for a while, so I think it will kind of solidify something in her and in her confidence and her own performance, that it is possible for her to get deep into tournaments. So yeah, I think if she's going to continue playing, then yeah, I think it stands her in good stead for the rest of the season, because it's going to be a busy one as always.
The top seeds were not the only ones grabbing the headlines in Calgary. Two rising stars were the talk of town for their impressive performance, and BWF commentator Trevor Harris was on site to explain why.
First guy that's really impressed me this week is the Indian, Priyanshu Rajawat. He's 22, he's ranked, I think, 39 in the world, and he beat Anders Antonsen, number 4 in the world. Massive landmark win for him. Now, I actually think he might be a tad disappointed with what he's achieved in his career so far, because when he was younger, 18, 19, huge things were expected. I might be being a bit harsh, but I think what he's done, and it's so impressive. I mean, some of his retrieving in the match against Antonsen was off the scale. He clearly went in with a game plan and he executed it absolutely perfectly. Well, what impresses me most from what I've seen in the past from him is more patient. In the past, I think he tried to win rallies too quickly, went for shots that weren't really there. Now, he's added that patience to his game. I think 39 in the world, he's going to be a top 20 player, I'm absolutely sure. I think also, he beat Gemka as well, so he's done for 2 top-class Danes in this tournament. I think it was after the Lord Mayor's show for him when he lost to Alex Lanier. It often happens when you've had a big win, the next match can be a little bit of a downer. But I think he'll be delighted with the way he's played. And talking of that match, Alex Lanier is the other man I want to talk about. Now, he is a phenomenon. He's only 19. He won his first tournament, I think, at 16 in Lithuania. He won a Super 100 here in Canada, this tournament when it was a Super 100 in 2022. The way he played against Rajawat, off the scale. And what impresses me most about him is temperament. He's 19, his shot selection, just ridiculous. I mean, I see players of 24, 25 don't have his brain. He's studying for science degree at Sorbonne, so we know he's an intelligent guy, and that shows in his play. He's already been voted, I think, by the French Federation their best player for the last 2 years. Big time for French badminton with the Popov brothers as well. But I think Lanier, if he continues to play like that, and his development is so quick, which it will be at that age, he is going to be an absolute superstar.
Kunlavut Vitidsarn has been struggling to find his feet after winning the BWF World Championships, reaching only one final in 12 BWF events since clinching gold. While he may still be in the hunt for his first title of 2024, the Thai shuttler believes he's getting back to his best just in time for the Olympics.
It's one game all. What a battle this is turning into. Oh! What a shot from Vitidsarn. Well, that is astonishing. It's going wide, and he's done it. Kunlavut Vitidsarn, the first player from Thailand ever to win gold in the men's singles discipline.
Despite having to deal with the pressures that come with being the reigning world champion, Vitidsarn is excited to be playing in his first Olympic Games. The 23-year-old believes conquering the Games will be more challenging than the World Championships.
The Olympics this time is the first time for me because the last 3 years before not have to play because the point not enough. But now I can come to Olympic Games the first time, and I'm really happy because when I was young, this is my dream. And I think the Olympic Games really hard than the World Champion because the World Champion have many years, but Olympic Games have just one time in 4 years. Everyone need to get the medal from the Olympic Games, right? And yeah, I will do my best because this time is my first time.
It has been far from smooth sailing for the world number 8 this year, having made it to just one final in 7 BWF events played. So the Thai shuttler has decided to change his strategy in order to revive his form.
Now the performance is better than the last year, right? After the World Champion, my performance is very drop and very down. And yes, okay, sometimes it's not good and I have to change the performance a little bit, have to change the plan. Now I must attack more than before, and before I must counter-attack, right? Defense and counter-attack, but now I must attack first and then really try it. I have to change the performance. Yeah, but now I think it's okay for me.
While tweaking his game has brought back consistent results in his last 2 tournaments, Vitidsarn feels that he is far from his best and any opponent at the Olympics can pose a threat.
I think many players because now the top player very good performance, everything, defense game, attack game, and the mentality, everyone very good now. Very difficult to play. But about me, before I go to Olympic game, I have to learn and get the experience for the Olympic game. Learning with the top player first, and when play the big tournament to play the best. Yeah.
The 23-year-old is learning and training with Lo Kian Yu, Lee Zijia and Lee Chok Yu for his final Olympic preparations before heading over to Paris.
After Indonesia, I come to the Singapore, training with the top player for the Olympic game. Because in Thailand, sometimes no player to play with me, right? And yeah, I come to training with the top player in Singapore, and yeah, waiting for the Olympic game.
With that, we have come to the end of today's show. The HSBC BWF World Tour is taking a break to make way for the Olympics on July 26, but join us again next week as we discuss the Olympic draw with our panel of experts. You can also stay up to date with the latest news updates from the new look BWF app, Badminton for You. And as always, let us know your thoughts, comments, and questions on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Until next week, see you!